Hello everyone. Today, we're going to be seeing how fast Mienshao can beat Pokemon X in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video for Daily December. This Pokemon is honestly going to be incredible. Aegislash was also very good. Steel and Ghost is probably one of the best defensive typings since Steel Fairy. But then again, this is when Steel got nerfed, so Aegislash was weak to Ghost and Dark, but honestly, not that big a deal. But we need to take a look at Mienshao stats. We have 65 HP, 125 attack, which is actually the same attack stat that Armaldo had yesterday in Pokemon Sapphire. We also have 60 in the defenses, 95 special attack, which is honestly kinda high for a fighting type, and 105 speed. And not only that, we're in the medium slow leveling group, so we're going to be leveling up super fast. And with our defenses not being the best, we really can't take a hit that well, and 105 speed may look good, but X and Y is generally one of the fastest games in terms of the enemy Pokemon speed, in terms of a game you can solo run. The fastest Pokemon in the game is the Talonflame and the Malvafight, which has 183 speed. So because of that, I want to make sure I can outspeed everything in the game, so I am going with a Jolly Nature for plus speed and minus special attack. We're mainly going to be going with a physical moveset, because not only we get Meditate at level 1, but we also have access to Swords Dance, which is just insane. And if you take a look on the overlay, we actually start off with a bunch of level 1 moves, but our true moveset at level 5 is Meditate, Fake Out, Detect, and Pound. So our moveset at the start isn't going to be the best, but once we get access to level 29, we will get the move Force Palm, which will be very good. Plus, if we take a look at the other moves, we do get Double Slap at level 17, which isn't that great, Swift at level 21, which is a special move, we get Calm Mind somehow, kind of like Lucario does, but I can guarantee you we're not going to be using that move. Then we get Force Palm, Drain Punch, Jump Kick, U-Turn, Wide Guard, Bounce, High Jump Kick, Reversal, and Aura Sphere. So access to a lot of great fighting moves, plus U-Turn if we want it, but that's kinda banned in solo runs unless I deposit my HM users first. And Bounce is it's just an kind of move. If I were to go with a flying move with this thing, it would probably be Acrobatics or Aerial Ace. And speaking of Aerial Ace and Acrobatics, if we take a look at the TM set, we get access to some decent moves. We get Calm Mind and Bulk Up, which the latter is actually available all the way in Snow Point City. We're probably just going to stick with Swords Dance by that point. But we do get access to some other good moves like Return, Dig, Brick Break, Rock Tomb, which starting Gen 6, Rock Tomb became 60 power, 95 accurate. So Rock Tomb is an actual good move. We'll get this TM after we beat Grant. And then we get Aerial Ace, Low Sweep, Focus Blast, Acrobatics, Fling, Rock Slide, Stone Edge, Swords Dance, Poison Jab, Grass Knot, U-Turn, and Power Up Punch. I am really looking forward to Power Up Punch. It's not going to be as great as Swords Dance, but if I just want to spam a move the entire game, Power Up Punch is definitely the way to go. While I'm in the Santaloon Forest and on Route 3, I do fight a lot of the early game trainers because I still want to get as much XP as I can so I can get Force Palm as quickly as I can, because right now, our moveset selection is not that great. But we are still a Mienshao, and we are doing very good damage even with Pound. So why don't we go see how we do against the first gym leader of Kalos, Viola. Fighting type moves wouldn't have even helped here anyway. Bug types resist fighting moves, so Pound is going to do just fine. I can use a couple of Meditates on the Surskit, and then by the time I get to the Vivian, I go ahead and use a Detect right away just for no reason. And then Pound only does about a third, and then I get hit with chip damage from Infestation, and my health is getting dangerously low. But fortunately at the last minute, I am able to defeat it and get myself the Bug Badge. You know, Gen 6 had really creative names for badges, can't you tell? On Route 4, I do a lot of the trainers here as well, including the roller skater trainer classes. I really should not fight these guys. These people are an absolute pain in the ass to try and fight. But at least at the very end of the route, I can get the TM for return. I can definitely teach this right now because of how weak Pound is. Even though my friendship isn't the greatest, it's gotta be at least stronger than Pound at this point, so I will teach it right away. And funnily enough, while fighting Professor Sycamore and his 3 Kanto starters, I actually almost die here because I forgot to heal, but fortunately, thanks to a couple of meditates, I am able to defeat the rest of his team pretty easily, but that easily could have gone bad. And then while I'm in Lumio City, I go ahead and enter the Pokemon Center, pretty much sell almost everything I have, just to be able to afford not only a few repels, but also the TM for Swords Dance. The earlier I get this move, the better. And while I'm here as well, I do deposit my HM users, because on Route 5, there's actually a twin double battle with Plusle and Minun, and those 2 trainers are very freaking annoying to fight. The Plusle and Minun almost never get one-shot, and they do stuff like paralyze you or use Growl. They are very annoying, so if I remember to deposit my HM users, not only will I have to not face them, I also don't need to withdraw them until I go to Chaleur City, because there's no mandatory use for HMs until you get to Chaleur City to use Surf. I mean, unless you want something optional, like inside the connecting cave on the Solage City side, if you wanted Aerial Ace, you do need a Strength user, but other than that, not really that big a deal. I'm still fighting a lot of the trainers along the way, mind you. I still do want access to a fighting move as soon as possible. Plus, while I enter the Parfum Palace, before I go into the garden area, I can actually go to the upper floor and actually get access to the Amulet coin. I'm going to hold this for most of the playthrough, at least until I get to Lavere City, because the Pokemon Center there is where you can buy vitamins, and if you hold on to the Amulet coin, you'll probably have around 160,000 Pokedollars, because Team Flare, the people that join that team are pretty freaking rich. So I can just buy a ton of vitamins, usually around 12 to 15 vitamins. Nothing else really interesting happens on my way to Ambra Town, but I actually do talk to this girl to get the TM for Rock Smash. I usually get this TM anyway and teach it to Lucario or something, because I can use it to get a rare candy later by teaching it to a Lucario or something. But I'm actually going to teach this move to Mienshao. Thankfully it's not an HM move, so I can unlearn it whenever I want. Plus it is a 40 power move. I mean, it's not the best fighting type move, but it'll do for now. And unfortunately for me, while inside the Glittering Cave, I actually get a reset on the double battle here against Team Flare, because my health is pretty low and I'm poisoned and I don't have a way of healing myself. So I'm just hoping I can actually get her Pokemon knocked out in time. And fortunately, on the second try, they all aim for Esper instead of me, and I barely end up winning. You know, it's a good thing Gen 6 got rid of the whole poisoned in the overworld thing. Well, technically Gen 5 did, but you know what I mean. At least I can get to the very end, get myself a Jaw Fossil. I knew if I didn't say, and with access to the Jaw Fossil, I can get an escape rope, get out, heal at this lady right here, get my way to Ambra Town, and then head my way towards Solage City. A lot of the training on this route right here is actually very good, and by the time I enter Solage City, I get level 24. And I'm still going to fight some more trainers to the north, and once all the training to the north is finished, I can go enter Grant's gym and fight his gym trainers. These gym trainers are often quite good. You really don't want to underestimate them. A lot of them have Sturdy, and there's even also a trainer with Solrock and Lunatone that spams Psywave. And Psywave is 100% accurate in this game, so it actually can be terrifying early on. But I actually decided to just skip her for now. I really don't want to risk it. Although it probably wouldn't have been that hard. I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I do go ahead and fight a couple of the trainers that I skipped, and I end up at level 27. And I have 2 rare candies on me, so I can actually use them to get to level 29 and finally learn Force Palm. So let's go try out Grant with this new move. He leads off with a Mora, which is 4 times weak to the thing, and I one-shot it with Force Palm. Then on the Tyrant, it's only 2 times weak, but it doesn't matter though. Force Palm go burr, and I one-shot it as well. And with Grant defeated, I get myself the TM for Rock Tomb. This is going to be a very good move for me to have, especially since it's now buffed, and it's actually a good move. Then, inside the Reflection Cave, right before accessing Shalur City, there are some powerful trainers in here I could fight. One of them is Battle Girl Hedvig. She's normally one of the hardest trainers in the early game because she has a throw and a Hawlucha, but Mienshao is just so good. With access to Swords Dance, I can actually defeat her team. That's actually pretty impressive. Most Pokemon, even with a super effective move, struggle against Hedvig so bad I pretty much just skip her when doing optional training. That's how hard she is. But the fact that I defeated her pretty easily is actually a very good sign. Plus, here's another benefit to depositing the HM users back in Lumio City. I can actually skip this double battle with the tourists here. They actually have Combi and Visbequen. So they're actually going to be kind of difficult for Mienshao, but fortunately I don't have to fight them. Then when I finally enter Shalur City, I can go into the mart right here, withdraw my HM users, and I also do use a bunch of my money to buy a bunch of super repels and super potions. I had to withdraw my HM users here because as soon as I beat Karina, I can actually go ahead and actually teach Surf and then use that move. But I actually know this now. I should wait until after the gym leader because one of the gym trainers in Karina's gym has a Hariyama that likes to use Whirlwind. So it's actually a better idea to not withdraw them until after the gym. But I didn't know this at the time. But in this run, I don't have any problems with her gym trainers, so let's go take on Karina. She leads off with Mienshao's younger sister. I can go ahead and use a couple of Swords Dances and then just use Drain Punch on it, which I actually learned via level up at level 33. This move is far better than Force Palm, plus it's a pretty good healing move, so I can actually just use that to completely destroy her entire team. Blah blah blah, Mega Lucario, no one cares. Then I can go ahead and get the HM for Surf and then talk to this guy and receive a free Lapras. Now, my party is full of HM users, which is a good thing because once I catch the Xerneas in the Team Flare section of the game, it's going to try and force Xerneas into slot 1 of my party, but with access to a full team, that will not happen. And not only can I teach Surf, but I can also teach Power Up Punch to Mienshao because that's the TM that Karina gives you. And honestly, Drain Punch will just be my main spamming move if I don't need a Swords Dance. But also, with access to Cut, I can actually go ahead and get myself the Leftovers, generally one of the most useful healing items in the main series. I completely destroy the rival in Coumarine City, and then go take on the 4th gym leader, Ramos. He leads off with a Jumpluff, which does have a type advantage over me. I only used one Swords Dance before I start sweeping with Return. Then on the Go-Goat, I can actually just use a Power Up Punch to get some health back, but it does lower my speed. But it doesn't matter though, I can go ahead and just Return on the Weepin' Bell. Plus, I am now gaining a lot more experience because just before going to the gym, I entered the hotel in Coumarine and got myself the Lucky Egg since Mienshao is now at max friendship. This will help me level up a lot faster, which is especially going to be incredible for this part of the game in the Kalos power plant because a lot of the Team Flare Grunts have fully evolved Pokemon, although a lot of them are part poison and there is a risk of dying, which actually did happen on one of the Team Flare Grunts with a Krogunk. When this happened, I reset back to an earlier Team Flare fight, so it is a little annoying that I lost a bunch of progress, but at the same time, I should have kinda expected that. But fortunately for me, I don't get any other problems in the power plant, and then I can go back into Lumio City and go take on the 5th gym leader, Clement. This is a gym where fighting types theoretically have a type advantage. I'll explain why. Clement leads off with an Emolga, which is part flying type, but it usually likes to use Volt Switch, but it actually used Aerial Ace, doing less than half. I only used one Swords Dance, and then I can defeat it with Rock Tomb. Then on the Magneton, I use one Rock Tomb as a misclick, but I do defeat it with Power Up Punch. And then Power Up Punch can defeat the Heliolisk as well, because Heliolisk and Magneton are both weak to fighting, but Emolga has a move that fighting types are weak to. But 2 out of 3, I'd say fighting types have a generally good time at this fight. And now with Clement defeated, I need to go on to Route 14 and do what I generally view as one of the hardest rival fights. I mean, he leads off with Meowstic, really nothing new here, but this is the fight where his starter is now fully evolved into Delphox, and Delphox is a really good Pokemon. Speaking of Delphox, I really love its new Mega designs, probably my favorite of the 3, even though when I first played X version, I picked Chespin. But fortunately, because of Swords Dance, I don't have any problems here. Plus, having access to Return, Power Up Punch, Swords Dance, and Rock Tomb is very great coverage. I do like it. And then eventually, I can make my way up to Laver City and go buy some vitamins. And today's Vitamin of the Day is 3 protein, 3 carbos, 7 HP ups, and 7 full restores. I know full restores aren't vitamins, but I had money left over and I really didn't need vitamins in any other stat, so I just decided to just use the rest of the money on full restores. You may be wondering why I chose to get HP ups. When the defense stats are equal, I tend to prefer HP ups because I don't really mind either way. But why don't we go take out Valerie? I am weak to fairy types, but she's generally a pretty bad gym leader. Valerie leads off with a Mawile, which is neutral to fighting type moves, but it likes to waste its time setting up Iron Defense, so I set up 1 Swords Dance, and then I one-shot it with Power Up Punch. The Mr. Mime and the Sylveon go down to 1 use of Return. So yeah, pretty bad gym leader. If she had led with a better fairy type, like, I don't know, Aromatisse, or straight up just lead with the Mr. Mime and set up screens, then I'd say she would actually be an interesting fight. But no, the first fairy type gym leader is pretty bad. This next section of the game in X and Y is mostly uneventful for a lot of runs. You just go through Route 15, you head your way to Frost Cavern, do a lot of trainer battles, and it's generally pretty uninteresting until you get to Anastar. But the trainers inside the Frost Cavern can actually be pretty tough, but I don't have any issues with any of them today. And I don't have any problems with the rival in Anastar as well. This is the first rival fight where he has Jolteon added to the team, which is also a contender for one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. But still, Swords Dance go burr. So why don't we go fight Olympia now? This is another fight where fighting types have a disadvantage, and Olympia generally tends to be a tougher fight because most Pokemon can't knock out her lead in one hit and can set up Reflect or Light Screen. So let's see how the fight goes. Olympia leads off with a Sigilyph. I use Swords Dance, and just as I predicted, it went for Reflect. And then I get a 10% Rock Tomb miss, and I get hit with a ton of damage. And because of that Rock Tomb miss, her Slowking is able to actually finish me off, and I get my first reset since the mid-game of the run, which is actually pretty interesting. Before I do the fight again, I actually use a lot of my rare candies to get straight to level 57. This was probably unnecessary, but I don't really need that high of a level for the league, so I may as well just use my rare candies right now. And with this higher level, I can actually just finish the rest of her team pretty easily. Although, on the Sigilyph, it did end up surviving a Rock Tomb. It probably would have been a better idea to try and stall the Reflect, but that would just give her more chances to hit me with Psychic. That's probably not a good idea. And now with our 7th gym badge, we get that dreaded phone call. Well, it's not really a phone call, but you know what I mean. We now have to do 2 massive Team Flare sections, but as long as I hold on to the Lucky Egg and I'm careful keeping an eye on my HP, this place is generally not that bad. In fact, not only do I not have a reset or blackout at any of the Team Flare grunts or admins, I started this section at level 57, and by the time I finish, I am now level 66. So yeah, I've gained almost 9 levels here, which is pretty impressive. I can then catch the Xerneas, send it to the PC, and then take care of Lysander as well. And before we take on the 8th gym leader, there's a little battle with Professor Sycamore, as well as 3 consecutive battles with your friends. The Professor Sycamore battle doesn't provide a problem, but usually the battle with your friends can, because Tierno will try to battle you right away without healing, and then Trevor ends up healing you. And Trevor's team is actually pretty good. He has a Raichu that uses Nuzzle, as well as an Aerodactyl and a Florges. But I'm not sure what you were expecting. Mienshao just completely destroys everything, which is kind of expected. But before I go take on the 8th gym, I'm going to be making a slight detour. I'm going to fly back to Curryway Town and then go use Waterfall to get the TM for Rock Slide. But I realized you have to defeat the 8th gym leader to use Waterfall. So yeah, that was a mistake. Why don't we go take on Wolfric now, shall we? Wolfric leads off with a Bomb of Snow. I go ahead and use one Power-Up Punch, and it is going to be a 2-shot, but I did get an attack boost, plus I can just knock it out with the second one and get another attack boost. Then the Cryogonal is a 1-shot, I get another attack boost because that's how Power-Up Punch works, and surprisingly at +3, Avalugg is actually not a 1-shot, and it's actually taking quite a lot of hits to knock out. Unfortunately, he just wastes his time, and I still get the win. So now I have all 8 gym badges. And with access to the Waterfall HM outside of battle, I could go back and actually get Rock Slide, but at the last minute I actually decided not to get it. Having Rock Tomb should just be enough, especially with Swords Dance. And then inside Victory Road, I don't have any problems with anybody, not even with the rival fight here. The rival fight in Victory Road tends to be pretty tough, but fortunately I don't have any issues with them today. So then I can enter the Pokemon League. I heal up at the center and go take on the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. The first member of the Elite Four I take on is Wickstrom, the user of Steel types. He leads off with a Klefki, which is very annoying because that thing likes to use Prankster Torment, which it actually does use right away. But that's fine though, I can just use a Swords Dance turn 1, and when I have to alternate turns, I can just switch back and forth between Swords Dance and Power-Up Punch, or potentially switch to Return. It's especially useful on Probopass because using a Return does bypass Sturdy, so he won't be stuck in a heal loop. And then on the Aegislash, I am going to have to knock it out with Rock Tomb because it's my only good move against it. And because of the whole fact I'm tormented and Rock Tomb gets a 10% miss again, I actually get a reset on Wickstrom. That is just embarrassing. Getting a reset on anybody in the Pokemon League besides Malva or Cybold is just embarrassing. The other two are not that good. But fortunately for me, I do win on the second attempt, albeit at very low health. Next up is the Dragon-type Elite Four member, Drosna. She leads off with Dragalge, which does resist fighting moves, so I'm going to go ahead and use one Swords Dance, then one Power-Up Punch, and that really doesn't do that much damage. My health gets too low because her first use of Sludge Bomb actually poisons me, and I realize there's just no way I'm winning this, so I just reset. Okay, a loss to Drosna is also embarrassing. Come on, Mienshao, you literally destroyed the entire game. Why are you losing here all of a sudden? But fortunately, it figures out what it's actually doing and takes care of Drosna just like she always should go down. Next up is the Fire-type Elite Four member, Malva. She leads off with a Pyroar. I go ahead and use one Power-Up Punch right away, and then I get hit with a move, dealing over half of my damage. The text is going so fast it's hard for me to read it sometimes. But that's fine though, with +1 to my attack, I can one-shot the Talonflame right after with Rock Tomb, and then I can go ahead and just spam Rock Tomb on the rest of her team. So yeah, pretty easy fight overall. Next up is the Water-type Elite Four member, Cybold. Cybold leads off with a Clawitzer. I go ahead and use one Power-Up Punch, getting an attack boost. I use another one as well. It does get it low health, but that's fine. That gets him to using a full restore, and by the time I defeat it, I'm now at +4 attack, and that allows me to destroy the rest of his team with return and power-up punch. Even though the Gyarados' Intimidate gets me to +3, that's still not going to affect anything. And now, with the Elite Four defeated, we still have to take on Diantha. So let's go ahead and finish this run. Diantha leads off with Hawlucha. She generally likes to set up her own swords dances, but the Hawlucha does something different and instead hits me with Flying Press. So I realized, okay, I need to move now. So I defeat the Hawlucha right away with Return, and then I can return the Goodra as well. And then on her Auroras, I can use Power Up Punch for the one-shot plus another attack boost. I can do a similar thing to the Tyrantrum too. And then on the Gourgeist, I gotta switch over to Rock Tomb, which is the main reason I still have this move, just for ghost types. And then on her final Gardevoir, it Mega Evolves, but that doesn't matter. I one-shot it with Return and clock in, with a real time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 5 seconds, with 5 resets and 0 blackouts, at level 77, with a game time after the credits of 6 hours and 16 minutes. So yeah, despite a lot of those embarrassing resets that Mienshao had to endure, it still had a very, very good time. I mean, fighting types have generally been pretty busted since Bulk Up was introduced in Generation 3. They're very good in Generation 3, they're okay in the Gen 4 games, they're freaking busted in Gen 5. It seems like in Gen 6 they're going to be very good as well, although there are more checks against them, like the Meowstic on the rival teams, as well as Olympia and potentially Clement. But if we go ahead and take a look at the leaderboards, Mienshao is actually ranked pretty dang high. Remember how Klefki went? Yeah, this thing did far better than Klefki. And Klefki at the time was a very impressive result, but I'm sure if some of these other Pokemon got re-ranks, like a Veltal and potentially Xerneas, maybe they could get sub 140, but we'll have to see when we eventually get there. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This is the second video of Pokemon X, and that is the last one for the year. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to follow me on my socials or support the channel through YouTube memberships. YouTube members get access to the patch files for all the backport Pokemon we do on stream. Anyway, tomorrow is actually going to be another interesting run. It's actually going to be Pokemon Crystal with Quagsire. This is going to be an interesting run. I did Quagsire in Heart Gold and it was absolutely terrible. Hopefully in Crystal it'll do better. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the next video of Daily December.